Welcome and thank you for joining us at the Smite Pro League Week 5 North America. And this is going to be the long day, 3 grueling sets. Finch here, I got Agro with me as well, and there's tons of Smite action to look forward to.
Look, this is a critical day because we're going into the final week here in the SPL North America. There are a lot of spots open here for these top 2 spots that you have to get in order if you want to come to LAN. It's going to be a huge day.
And I'm excited too. The SPL is presented to you all by Mixer. Ton of cool things we're able to do thanks to their help. You got those POV cams, going to be Scary D and Divios to check out here in that first game. Make sure you enjoy those and able to get the streams out to you faster than ever.
Make sure you, if you're an aspiring solo lane player, this is a really good one to watch because Scary's been playing at an incredible level, as has Divios. So you'll be able to learn a lot of stuff on those individual cams.
Not just going to be able to learn stuff, but there's going to be stuff for you all to get at home as well. We're giving out too much. We're too generous here, Agro.
Agreed.
The season ticket is going to be available for you and cheaper than ever, 25% off. That way you can make sure that you're getting plenty of FP when you pick those games correctly. So either find out my picks, find out Agro's. I don't know if you can trust Tom and Hindu's, but certainly you can trust us to make sure we're getting you the maximum amount of FP.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I mean, you're not only getting the season ticket, but remember there are skins inside the season ticket that you'll be unlocking. There's the season ticket store where you use your FP. This is a great value.
Not just going to be able to, though, enjoy that FP. Let's actually take a look at the format for the split, because if you're going to be voting on it, you want to understand exactly how it works. I'm sure it is 6 weeks of competition, double round robin as well, so everyone is going to be playing each other twice, plus their best of 3 matches, so that means that we're going to have definitive winners within each of those sets, and they're all going to be playing towards those LAN events as well. The Masters is the one that's really not too far away when you think about it. I mean, next week is the last week of the spring split, at least that online portion. There's going to be a ton more LANs throughout the rest of the year, all culminating, of course, to grabbing that hammer with the Smite World Championship.
I can't wait, man. I started looking forward to the Smite World Championship about a week after the one before. I need about a week recovery period.
That's right. Agro was on an IV for a while.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. You know, I got to regain everything, but I'm already looking forward to this year's.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting getting to see all these teams play together, and it's because they're so close right now. In fact, if we can take a look at where each of these teams are shaking out, you'll see there's really not too much of a gap between them. I mean, even Splyce, who's down at the bottom, you can tell from their plus minus that they've been making those sets close the whole way through. And in particular, you want to take a look at North America, since that's the one we're going to be looking at today. Splyce has a double header coming up, as well as LG, so it's going to be very important for them to find as many wins as they can. Yeah,
I mean, even LG, who's in that 5th slot right now, still is not eliminated for LAN, even close to it. Actually has a pretty good shot if they win both of their games today. They can put themselves in a position where they can make some plays next week as well. So this is an incredibly tight match between where everyone's going to end up in those standings.
And this is what I was alluding to earlier, where Splyce and LG are both going to be playing twice today. And you just mentioned LG can still make it. Space Station's going to be a tall task for them. They're definitely going to need to win that set. But the very first one we're going to be looking at, Trifecta versus Splyce. Trifecta only has 1 game today, and they're actually up near the top of the standings. You just saw them. This Trifecta squad looks great.
Look, and Trifecta's been on the rise, and it's been really impressive what we've seen from them. This is a must win. You cannot afford to lose the 6th seed if you're Trifecta. If you want to clinch your spot at LAN, Trifecta's got to win this.
Yeah, Trifecta are certainly going to need it, and they're going to need all the support that they can get from everyone there at home as well. So make sure that you all are providing that support, and there's a couple cool ways that you can do that with those badges. I myself do have a Splyce badge. So hopefully, you know, they're able to pick up that win.
Caster thinks Splyce is going to win today, huh, Finch?
That's right.
What's wrong with you, man?
That. Yeah, apparently I do. Just because I picked a badge I liked, that means that I think they're going to win every match.
You know what badge I have?
I don't.
All of them, because I'm unbiased.
Do you really have all the badges?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So why?
How many gyms do you have left over from your check now, though?
Well, look, I got an advance. I asked for a loan. You know, I'm not getting paid for the next couple weeks, but it was all in the name of staying objective. Like, not all of us do here.
Enjoy Rye Guy, the objective one over there, but in this next matchup, though, my focus is kind of going to be on the Splyce roster. I mean, they've shown us that they certainly have the capability. Now they have to show it to us in the W column, Ryan. Potential only gets you so far until you're actually able to put it into action.
The only team in North America that doesn't have a shot at making it to the Smite Masters LAN, but I think that a lot of Splyce fans are probably, you know, still sitting there okay with how they performed. As you pointed out, that plus minus is actually very good, -7 right now. You compare that to the other 1 in 6 teams in Europe, they're like -13. So you can tell that Splyce has done good work so far. It just taking them a little bit of of time to gel entirely, I really think the summer split, we're going to see this team do very well.
I think so too, because it's a team full of roster with a ton of potential, like CycloneSpin's here, TheBest, Cyno, Aror. I mean, I could name them all because they're all that strong, but I mean, they need to be able to gel. Mechanical difference is not going to be the big difference between these teams right now. It's how well they can work as a unit.
No, exactly, and that's just one of those things for Splyce where are they going to finally start picking hunters for CycloneSpin? Is he going to keep playing warriors? You know, you never really know with this squad.
Well, as we said, this Trifecta roster in particular, full of talent. They got to start converting that potential, though, into actual W's. Can they get it done?
Splyce is a strong team that sounds like they've got a lot in the gas tank, but just haven't been able to find the gas pedal yet. There's a lot of creativity on here, a lot of natural talent as well, but the wins are troublesome. They're not able to find them yet. If you look at the rest of the organization, this squad just won the Halo World Championship. Hopefully they can channel some of that into what's going on here in Smite, because they need a little bit of that winning attitude, and they'll be a scary squad like the rest of them.
That's a story on Trifecta right now. Tons of talent, but not able to get it in the win-loss column. And you kind of alluded to it. Even in the clips we saw CycloneSpin just now. He was on Warriors, wasn't he? I mean, yeah.
Every time.
But, I mean, that whole Trifecta squad is really strong. But in particular, I'm going to be looking at Divios here for him. I mean, in that solo lane right now, it kind of feels like he's the star. Even when they're struggling, Divios is not.
Look, I think that NA solo laners have been the most competitive region/role that we've seen all across the SPL. NA solos are all playing very, very well right now. And the fact that Divios has looked like a star among all of them anyways really speaks volumes to how well he's played.
And not just that, Divios took a little time off as well, didn't he? So being able to come back in and regain his stride, it really is a testament to his skill level. Now, of course, there were a lot of changes coming into Season 5, so maybe coming in with those changes helped him out a certain bit, but certainly didn't look like he lost a step to me.
Not at all. And that doesn't surprise me because meta changes, God changes, that kind of stuff. Divios is always one that's going to be at the forefront because he plays the game more than just about anybody. He's willing to put in that practice time. My man will sit in jungle practice for 2 hours in order to make sure he finds the right combination of skill, ability levels, you know, item builds, that kind of stuff. He's a dedicated guy, and it really shows off in his play.
They're going to need Divios to play at that high level because their opponents are Trifecta. You may not have thought it coming here into the season, but this Trifecta roster is right up there with the top with the rest of the teams in North America.
A team stuck in the middle. They've got a lot of talent and they've got a ton of potential, but they haven't really been able to execute enough. Zapman has been stepping up a little bit, but Scary D, I ate my hat from last year. This guy has stepped up and he makes the red, white, and blue look really good. I don't know if they're going to be able to win a lot looking at the tough competition, but this team is fun to watch and they're going to keep improving.
And I think Tom's points there are all correct because when we record those videos at the beginning of the week, and that was kind of the storyline with Trifecta, right? That you could see it, but it wasn't quite there yet. You know, they had a couple things to work on. Then on Wednesday, they come in and they beat E United and put themselves in a spot where they are no longer middling in the pack. They're second. So I don't think that, I think that actually tells a perfect story about Trifecta is they're almost there. On Wednesday, they got there. Now, as I mentioned, this is a must-win, though, if they're going to keep that momentum and try and qualify for Masters.
It's a must-win, not just because they have that momentum, but against the squads that you're supposed to win, it's more important than ever. We saw it recently where Energy dropped a game up against, I think it was Obey, where we thought, hey, they're supposed to win, at least the way the season's gone so far. So that could be a deciding factor when you go to LAN. Only the top 2 teams go, and in particular on this Trifecta roster, man, Scary D. I mean, last season we thought maybe a middle-of-the-road kind of solo laner, not been the case at all here.
Not at all. And like I said, NA solos across the board have been doing very well, and Scary D is the perfect example of someone who's really stepped up his game in Season 5. And it's not like it's solo dependent either, because I don't think that European solo laners have made the same level of impact. I mean, individually, there have been those who were making plays. Variety is the first one that comes to mind to me. For Dignitas, Maniac, Deathwalker as well, of course. But NA solos have made more impact on the game than I think European has, and I think that Scary is almost leading the pack there for NA.
Well, we'll get a chance to see exactly what it is these two teams want to prioritize, what they want to look for in picks and bans. Game 1 is ready to go between Trifecta here and Splyce. And you talked about it already. Some of the picks have been a little bit odd for this Splyce roster. In particular, CycloneSpin has been looking towards those Warriors. I'm curious if that's going to continue for them here as the games get more and more important.
Can I just say I hope not? I'm done with that experimentation, man. It works sometimes. It'll work, you know. I'm sure that Cyclone and Aror can have tons of fun stomping all their casual games and ranked games with that. But against the cream of the crop, the top-level SPL teams, I just don't think Warrior ADC cuts it. I really don't.
We're seeing some pretty standard bans here so far, though, Ryan. Terra and Giannis have been taken away by Trifecta. Terra's so strong right now with the Earth and Fury, so much control she can provide. Get that out of there. And then they're going to ban the Giannis as well. One of the strongest mid laners with that high mobility that he provides.
Just insane. He does it all, basically, for you. But that leaves open Nemesis. Splyce actually deciding to ban away Mask's Ratatosker.
Yeah.
Kind of a signature pick for him. But Mask has performed very well on just about every god you've given to him so far in this spring split. So first pick Nem, I'm sure Trifecta's pretty happy with it.
I'm sure he's happy with it too. He's going to look strong on that, I would imagine, as the Rom comes in for Splyce. Not saying that Rom is not a strong pick right now, but a little surprised to see it take it in their first pick, at least for Splyce.
I guess Splyce says we're going to get a Hunter for CycloneSpin, and though who knows, man, maybe they're going to go the way of Mouse Sports and start something really, really weird. But I imagine this is going to be Rom for CycloneSpin. And Rama has a pretty decent matchup in the Nemesis because once you get Nem ulted, you can take to the sky with that Rama ult and just buy time. Wait it out. You know, roll away, ult, wait till your roll cooldown comes back, let your team come in and support you. So I think it really is just a response to that Nemesis pick from Trifecta.
I mean, all that's well and good, but I mean, the Hachimon's still available, correct? I mean, that's certainly a strong Hunter pick right now, but they choose to go with the Rom. Certainly sure they can play this one at a high level. Fafnir and NeiruMah come out as the responses from Trifecta. This NeiruMah pick, I mean, has really just risen to prominence over these last 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, but I'm starting to like it less and less. I really think that she still has the same problems that she always had. That really tough until you get to late game to make an impact. And even then, I think that there are gods that do a little bit more for you late game. Of course, no one's ultimate is better than NeiruMah's. Whenever you're level 20, full build, dealing that much damage across an enemy team is incredible, and I'm never going to deny that. But the way that Metyankey played on, say, the Agni that he played on Wednesday, that's why I think we see Splyce take that away so early, is because Met played so well on it. I just think that Trifecta is a team that does well from ahead, specifically. I mean, all teams do, but Mask and Zap really know how to push a lead very, very well. And so I think slotting in NeiruMah is kind of giving up pressure in that mid lane, and I don't think it really vibes well with what Trifecta seems to excel at.
Naja was the selection for Splyce there at the bottom of their first pick phase. That does mean, though, that Trifecta had the option to ban away a couple of really strong Guardians. The Geb and the Kerberos are taken off the board. Ganesha going to be the selection for Splyce in that slot. Got to imagine Auror's not going to have any trouble playing this Ganesha really well, but does mean that they can't get maybe the Geb or the Cerberus they would have wanted.
No, exactly. It's a little bit more passive than Aror probably would prefer to play, so that's why I'm a fan of that. The Ymir selection. Neil went for this on Wednesday, and it worked out for Trifecta pretty well.
They already have the Fafnir, though.
Yeah, so it could be Ymir solo. You're right. That's a good call. So that is going to be for Scary. Scary's played a lot of Ymir solo during his time in the league. It's just one of those situations where he doesn't feel like there's going to be a horrible matchup remaining on the board for him with whatever Divios decides to go for. I would be kind of surprised if it isn't the tier, and it is, because this has been the signature pick for Divios so far this year. Now, it does get shut down a little bit by Ymir in those jungle corridors, but as long as you have your ultimate cooldown, you're going to be A-okay. You can get up and over that ice wall.
Artemis was also the last selection there for Trifecta as we went over those potential solo laners. This Artemis pick is another one that's kind of, we've seen be stronger and stronger here lately.
I love it. I think Artemis is in a really good spot in the meta right now. Now, will Divios go for the Blink at level 12, or will he be forced into the Thorns because of the crit build that Zapman might be going for? No, probably Teleport. He's been going Teleport pretty consistently. So, but you're right. There's 3 relics, basically, that tier wants to get. It's Teleport, Blink, and Thorns, but you can only get 2 of those. So this Artemis pick kind of forces Divios to make a choice.
We'll see where he ends up going with the relics and with the game as well. We'll go ahead and get over to the casters. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Finch. Me and F-Dot will be bringing you this one between Splyce and the exciting, extravagant team on the other side.
That's what the chair one says when they forget the matchup.
No, Trifecta. That's stupid. I actually wanted to see what you'd do with that more than anything else. Like, I knew who it was going to be.
That's what the chair two does when they forget the matchup. They toss it right back at the chair one.
There you go.
Splyce has been a team that I've been really excited to watch because when you see these guys, they're sort of like Mouse. I don't want to say Mouse Junior. They're like Mouse Light, where Mouse over there in Europe, they've got their own style, they've got their own meta, they've got their own sort of attention to detail. But then when you watch Splyce, they do sort of the same thing, but in a Roar style, which is closer to the meta.
You say in a Raw style or a Raw style?
Both.
Oh, that's what I was like, both of them work, but I was like, Raw style, that makes some sense.
Yeah, I intended with Aror, he's got his own style. It's closer to that meta, like you said, but it also is kind of just raw and out there. When you look at what Mouse does, it's a little more the holes are filled a little bit more. Here it's a little bit more refined.
Yeah, Splyce is a little bit more je ne sais quoi, I guess is the best way of looking at it. Who do you guys think will be the victors of this first game between these two? Vote in Mixer Chat now, and maybe you'll be right.
Trifecta and Splyce are both even out there. If you get, this is one where if you get your FP incorrect, don't feel too bad. These teams are really evenly matched, and honestly, this is one of the more exciting matchups we have.
I think you can hear on the side of Trifecta a little bit more here with the performances they've had against the likes of Splyce and how Splyce have performed this year, but definitely you're hedging your bets one way or another. Let's get into game for this first one and see exactly how this one breaks down.
Really excited for this matchup, as I said, simply because I think these guys are very evenly matched. They're the middle of the Packers, and right now we're seeing the standard group up in Ward.
After the one thing I want to mention is Splyce actually running a standard comp. Like, this is something I wanted to see out of them a little bit, just to see where they fall, you know, when they run with a standard composition of like a proper support, a proper hunter. Everyone on a god they're kind of used to as well. It's very comfort pick-esque here. I would say outside of the Agni, but TheBest has had an Agni for a long time. It's just that you've not seen it for a while, really. It's been more the Ras and the Giannis's. Yeah,
the last time we really saw TheBest rocking the Agni, he was across the way from Mace to the face. So that was
that's
quite a long time ago. That used to be the pick for Best used to play on Team Dignitas, and they used to pick Agni to take away from Mace, and that was really the only time you saw Best play it, going 4 or 5 years back. But I actually take exception to your comment about playing normal. I think it's important to embrace your team's identity, and this quote-unquote normal strategy is just a part of what Splyce does. Divios on the tier isn't really that normal. Now, it's a pick for the solo lane, but it's not a very pop-in meta pick at the moment.
But it's a popping meta pick for himself.
Exactly.
Which I completely understand. And the one thing I was mentioning about that more than anything is have a bit of unusual, a bit of spice in your comp.
Yeah.
Or a bit of spice in your comp. But don't have too much. Like, you don't overdo it in every single role, because then you kind of lose the identity. You've probably not scrimmed enough games with all those unusual picks at the same time to really show the benefit.
Sure. I mean, you have to look at your picks in the grand scheme of things, in context, right? And if all 5 picks are jank or odd, that's fine, as long as you've done the homework to go ahead. I think, so having Agni support, I think, is just as fine as having Ganesha support, as long as A, you've practiced it, B, you're good at it, and C, it actually applies to the matchup at hand.
Now, what we just saw in the duo lane is something definitely interesting. We saw both of the duo lanes start in the jungle. Only difference is that Zap and NeiruMah started red into purple, which means they got to lane earlier, whereas Splyce went for purple into red, which means they lose a couple of minions in the wave just without being there, and so they're going to be a little bit further behind in experience overall, which won't make too much of an impact. This is sort of the safety situation for both these teams here, getting level 2 before they even see each other.
Exactly. Just especially with these picks, when you have a character like Ram, the level 1 is not anything to really bring home. The Artemis and the Ram selections here, like we said, is the natural maturation of the hunter position here. We saw people go, hunters aren't good, so I'm just not going to play them.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, look, hunters are good, it just takes forever. So if I'm going to wait forever to be good, I might as well play the characters that excel in those late moments. Ram and Artemis, 2 prime examples.
I mean, as you look at the composition from both of them there, the only real one that's got a decent level 1 is Fafnir, because he will use that hammer, but he's going to be wanting to use it for clear anyway, and a quick body block means that's cancelled out. So not a surprise to see them playing it relatively safe. Both these, like you mentioned, though, hyper carry hunters as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's really sort of the flavor of the week right now, is going for these late game characters. Artemis with the crit, and then of course Ram has different things, the steroid and just bonus damage on his astral arrows.
Nothing else really going on so far in the game. A couple of trips back to base already have slowly been coming through, as you'll see the boots fully online for TheBest as he returns once more. See this a little bit more at the mid laners. The pre-level 5 return to base, get your mana topped up, ready for the level 5 potential of aggression around the next buffs respawns, and obviously those contested mid camps.
Right, you absolutely want to make sure that you're not going to be giving up your jungle. We've seen that the repeated red buff invade specifically has been how teams have been able to garner these 12 to 1500 gold leads without even finding a kill on the map whatsoever. So making sure that it's all about the timing of your itemization, usually first and foremost, but I think very high in players' minds are also the buff timers and when they're going to be able to fight around those.
Well, Oracle's going to go the way Splyce here on the left-hand side, so a bit of vision control around the Gold Fury. Not going to spawn until 5 minutes, a new change in Season 5. However, one thing I'm looking forward to this game, this set particularly, is the solo laners. Divios versus Scary D. Scary D having a fantastic season for himself, and Divios still being Divios.
Divios with a bounce back, absolutely a lot of fun to watch. Divios took a step away from the league, and if you ask me, it definitely wasn't on his own terms. Divios is the guy that loves to play Smite. This guy plays more Smite than probably any other player. He's on my friends list, and I don't think I've ever logged on without seeing him online. And so for him taking a step away from competitive might have been a breath of fresh air like it is for most players, but I think Divios just always wants to be playing. So I'm happy to see him back in the league, and I'm sure he's just as happy.
Ymir in the solo lanes it out once or twice so far this season, not too often, but it does bring a lot of benefits. It's one of those Guardians that's hard to really shut down just because of wave clear. You can't push him into the tower as much.
I love solo Ymir, and we don't see it enough for what I think. And Scary D is one of the players that really likes this selection and is really strong on this pick. When I watch Ymir play, he's an aggressive Guardian, like Ares, but with wave clear. You know what? He's kind of a warrior Guardian, and I like that.
I can see what you mean about that. The one reason I like the Ymir in the solo lane too is because one of the issues Ymir has in the support role this season, a little bit more, is you've got to rotate so much. And Ymir's not the most mobile little ice giant in the world. But in the solo lane, you get those levels, you get the experience you need, and you will make an impact in the team fights when you've got a couple of abilities and a couple of items online. So put him in the solo lane, comfortable position for this guy to be available in.
And he just brings so much to a team. I think the combination of the wall and the freeze is really big, and the damage he brings shouldn't be ignored. You can see he's going into the cooldown boots, but it's a combination of the frostbite passive, being able to smack people in the face with the basic attack after the fact, and the ultimate. It's a big slow field, causes a lot of chaos during a team fight, and like we mentioned, a ton of damage.
And not just that, if he goes for the Void Stone, he's going to be in amongst the enemy carries more than likely, or some of the front lines. So when you see TheBest dropping those bombs down over and over again, that's going to amplify the damage of the Agni on the backline too, to allow him to get a bit more off. So let's see how Scary D does with this. Obviously, Divios is a very experienced solo laner. He's been around the block long enough to know most of the matchups in that lane, and Ymir's one he's faced countless times in the past.
And Ymir actually is not the... Ymir's biggest thing is his stun, and Tyr's biggest thing is shrugging off stuns. He's going to have 1 second because of the passive, of course, plus any CCR that he picks up as well. But see that poke that Divios just takes? Now he's Tyr, so he heals it up no problem. But that's one of the big things that Ymir brings in the solo lane is he's able to duel and battle it out, and most Guardians have to relinquish
Gank on the left-hand side, probably coming through here from Mask as he was looking towards CycloneSpin, but sniffed out by Cyclone there. There was no wards down from what I can see. I think the biggest thing was maybe the telegraph from Zapman or just catching him, you know, in the edge of the jungle. Yeah,
you see there's actually a red ward by the entrance to the middle lane. So Mask might have walked over that one as he walked around by those mid-harpies and got pinged out, and just because of lack of information, look, he was in the last side of the jungle last time I saw him, don't know where he's at.
Well, Splyce looking to invade onto this red buff here, and he's surrounded NeiruMah and only Metyankey around to stop it because speed buff was being done by Mask at the same time. No chance for a dragon there, Sunshine, as you burn to high heaven thanks to the help of TheBest. Cyno gets credit for the kill, but speed sprint has been popped.
Cyno still on the way out. Mask the only one here on his team, though, and the rest of the players are on the other side. Mask still able to take out Cyno, and the combination isn't done just yet.
The board did come into play a little bit, but it wasn't no follow-up available there for Splyce to look to confirm another kill. That was a nicely timed attempt to the red buff, though, from Splyce. I liked it. They knew the speed buff had just come up after, and instead of going, they knew the jungler would want the speed buff. It's Mask after all, right?
Oh, yeah.
You see him tweet about how much the speed buff means to him all the time. Look to invade and abuse that situation at the red.
Yeah, the red buff, a very big focal point of Season 5. It's really tough to invade that speed over there, so red is really where people are looking at. And, I mean, with mages kind of stepping up and being more in the spotlight, the red buff also highly contested because of that reason. I love the defense coming out from Aror and TheBest. They set up this Mission Impossible deal where the guy came down right on top of a double laser beam. The laser beam from Aror's ultimate and the Agni dash damage as well. Even if he escaped, the dot damage from the flames is killing him because he's already slowed, protection shredded. Really nice setup, and I think Splyce showed us what this composition can do. You don't have a big Kraken, but you've got 2 laser lines when the player lands.
I will say Aror's Ganesha is not something you want to face in ranked.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that for sure. After experiencing it a couple of times firsthand, He's probably the only player in rank that I'm ever scared again.
Well, Auror's playstyle, actually, there's a world of difference between ranked and conquest, or ranked and competitive, and because of that, a lot of the players don't always transfer. Natural skill will make sure that they're sort of towards the top, but especially the support players, it's kind of tougher for them. Auror's natural aggressive playstyle allows him to both be that support that you want, but also go, you know what? I've got a brain-dead idiot as my hunter role. I can step up.
Is that stone a foul pick up there from Aror early on?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Gonna see how nice. Sorry, starting with binding. I know I said foul there. So, talk to me a little bit about this, F-Dot. What do you think?
Well, the stone of binding is a nice look. Not a good one for NeiruMah, however. Neil's going to sit down there. But the stone of binding is a nice look for characters like Ganesha because he's got a number of different crowd controls. To be honest with you, I'll be very transparent here. I'm not sure if the silence actually counts as the CC, but the dash absolutely does. So when he grabs somebody with that first ability, it's going to go ahead and make sure that his teammates are hitting a little bit harder.
And I guess the pillars, would that factor in as well?
Yes.
Pillars definitely do. I guess the two might. We'll have to investigate that because I think I'm a little bit confused by that. Obviously, it's a silence, so technically it is a hard CC, but hard to confirm 100% right now while we're live. However, NeiruMah did fall down again, so he's a little bit behind that of Aror now. The goal difference marginal between the two teams as we approach the 10-minute mark. But a very patient game from both. Obviously, the compositions, both of them lead towards a later stage composition for each, so farm off.
Outside of the hunters, I mean, not so much. But
really?
Yeah, I mean, when I look
Nemesis, you know, Najar.
Yeah, you know what? I think both of these compositions, these are really nice, what I would call mid-range compositions.
That's fair.
Where they kind of hit every single part of the game. Cyno's going to be really strong during the beginning, as will Divios if he actually rotates, but likely not. And then when the Naja falls off in that mid area, that's when the Agni is going to really make an impact.
Divios a little bit out of position here, too far forward. His mask on the rotation going to look to punish it. Divios still trying to hold on to his Lawbringer and get a rotation out, which he does from Aror, but the wall will pin him in place. However, that's going to force the ult out of Aror and out of Divios. Reset complete, but the chase may still be on.
Love that fearless coming out from Divios, the walking into the enemy type sort of mentality. Pushing the player obviously puts them a little bit further than you, but a little bit less obvious specifically pushed him into the chain from Aror, making sure to hit that pillar of destiny so he's able to continue on after the slow.
Dharmic pillars.
Pillars of destiny.
What do they used to be called for Noir? Just pillars, right?
Pecky's pillars.
Pecky's. I mean, that makes about sense. He's the only one who freaking played it, that's for sure. Golf Fury been started up by Splyce for a second now, but changed their mind there as Cyclone going to head back towards his side. The rest of his team not really wanting to get too involved. There might have just been a ward clear, actually, because I do see the ward down.
Really interesting differential between the hunters right now. 49 versus 69 stacks here. And I don't just bring that up because it's funny to say.
Yeah, you did.
No, I don't, honestly. 20 stack differential? That's a big deal. Zapman kind of getting punished for making those rotations earlier in the contest. But it also was funny to say.
It was funny to say. And the other thing about that, though, is that as long as nothing happens with that, it's a null issue. But could be created one if there was some pressure there. However, Zapman's tower has taken a bit of damage there. Talk about taking damage, Cyno will use his ult to try and detract from some of the pressure onto him. Gets the kill for himself. Mask went in, and Mask went out.
We're going to see that combo every time. Cyno, usually you see the Naja paired up with a single burst mage. The Kraken and the Ra ult are the best examples. Agni doesn't have that, so we see a Roar combined. We saw it the first time with the Roar and the best with the Agni dash. This time it's just the Aurora Dharmic pillars, and so that allowed him to figure that one out.
Zap versus Cyclone, and Cyclone is going to look for the ultimate. Second two snipes off the mark, but that was Zap getting aggressive to steal away the purple buff, cost him his bow, but Cyclone answered back, so all's fair in love and purple buffs.
Really important play for Zapman as well. He's about a half a level down, and so any extra farm that he can find is absolutely what he's looking for. Trade the boar for the purple buff? Yes, please.
Just very lucky. Obviously, the wall coverage did help there just to make sure that there was nobody on that left-hand side of the map that the Splyce could be looking at. You can see there's 6 wards, I think, around the red and purple area.
Which is funny as Divios gets caught behind the tier 1 tower again.
He's
going to push himself under the tower. That might have been a problem.
He's got Lawbringer still, and this is what they're trying to bait out of Divios. Divios recognizing that's the bait opportunity. By buying time, though, Splyce are on the Gold Fury, and it's really low. Don't forget there's an Agni. Nice little silence from Aror. He's probably going to fall for this, which I'm still okay with. He did the duty that was required.
Yeah, this is the oldest question in competitive Smite. Are you willing to trade your support for a Gold Fury? Frankly, I'm willing to trade Hindu Man for a roast beef sandwich, but Aror gives his way out here for the Gold Fury, and that's going to put his team of 3,000 gold in the lead. And Graham, I was just about to ask that, because Mask has been on the right side and finally gets something for it as Scary D takes down Divios. He's been here the entire game. And it was a little bit early. You can't get the Gold Fury before 5, obviously, but at some point I was going to say, you know, how many times is Mask going to show his face on that solo lane and Splyce won't act? So I'm very happy that they got that Gold Fury. That's what you're supposed to do.
Shouts to Trifecta trying to answer back to the Gold Fury, though. They picked up 2 kills after the fact so far, but get a bit aggressive around this blue buff. Could cost him a couple of lives. Scary D's getting very low and bursted down by TheBest. The silence is so good on Mask, he can't get away. Cyno gets himself a kill too. Splyce are up 5-3 with the Gold Fury.
Cyno sure used to play in the PC scene, but couldn't really break into the pro league. Found his way over to the console side of things and really excelled there. And one of the first characters that he really made a name for himself on the sticks, Naja, who's actually extremely difficult to play with a controller for what it's worth. He made an impact on that side of the world, then transitioned over here last year into the PC scene, and he brought up this Naja. Hasn't slowed down. Cyno is a really strong player here, and this Naja is the best I've seen since Dare to Care.
My dream is that Cyno ends up just playing on controller the whole time. Never tells anyone, but like he actually plays on PC, but with a controller.
Mifflin used to do that.
Yeah, and that's why Mifflin's nowhere anymore, right? Like, it's not easy playing a controller. I give full credit to any console players because I get so frustrated.
It's just what you're used to, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up playing Counter-Strike 1.6 from the third, fourth grade. Much different world when you look at Aggro, who's been playing COD since he was born, right? So it's really just what you're used to. And, you know, when you see the console players come over to PC, they say the same thing to me. They're like, F-Dot, how do you play with a mouse and keyboard? I'm like, just do? It's a feel thing.
Well, Divios, after dying, still goes straight back to doing what he was before, which is consistently proxy farming, trying to apply pressure to this Ymir. Ymir can't kill him in the 1v1, so you will see a lot of aggression out of Divios looking for plays.
Scary D with the quick fingers. Love that play. Tried to wall Divios in after he baited the charge there. That's the small intricacies of the Ymir soul that Scary D has a handle on. One of the few players that brings it out. Variety does from time to time, but this is definitely the Scary D god for me.
Oracle's going to go down for CycloneSpin. The Pyromancer was looked at for a second by Splyce as well, but they didn't really see a big enough window to take it a moment ago. Still, Cyno hanging around this right-hand side now. Left-hand side has kind of been abandoned. Zapman and Cyclone just able to continue to farm up steady, slow and steady. No support, even rotations too, which means these Hunters are getting to that late game a little bit quicker.
Splyce here. Looking for a little bit of a fight. Cyno finds the ultimate one more time, and the entire team is waiting at the bottom. All the lines in the world, and Cyno gets number 4.
But maybe Trifecta can turn this around. Mask goes in, has to use his shield and his dash to get away. Cyno smelt a bit of blood there, goes aggressive. Nice slash on NeiruMah to cancel out the chance of him jumping away.
Heyo.
Divio still feeling it though with that Lawbringer, trying to close the gap. Good stuff from Best. Silence too. The dragon is dead.
I think I'm in love with this composition.
It's beautiful.
Oh my goodness, there's so many control options, so much damage as well. Cyno coming through looking like a savage against Metyankey. Puts him down for the first time today, and the team's not even done!
Zapman takes a bit of poke there, forced to use the board. Meanwhile, the right-hand side, is that a Pyromancer staff? I believe it is. No, it's a Fire Giant. They're going to do this in 17 minutes, while the other 2 members of the team are zoning away.
Cyno has a ton of damage right now. CycloneSpin also going to provide the ROM
Great
basics.
call.
This is just understanding what your composition brings. That Flaming Spear, the second ability, the steroid for Naja, makes him so adept at crushing these objectives.
Not gonna lie, Scary's wall there prevented him from even seeing the Fire Giant in time to look at it. But Divios maybe in trouble here. Slow to high heaven. The freeze will help out, and the additional slows from being against the Ymir. But the team are just round the corner, and Mask is gonna die to the Flame Wave.
He lives! Scary D's ultimate doesn't even kill Divios. Taunt all you want, Big D. That was the play. He zones multiple people away from the objective. That wasn't, bear in mind, that was a long objective.
Yeah.
It took them a while. So that was a big, big job to zone out those players. Divios, fantastic job. This is just fantastic stuff. This is why people like to watch Divios on the tier. He's so dynamic, Hindu Man. Not only did he zone, but he also provided a ton of damage.
It feels like Trifecta are a little bit sleepy here in game one. Splyce coming out the blocks very quick. Quicker than, you know, well, to be fair, quick. They've always been quick in terms of how quickly they come out. But I do feel like Trifecta just aren't there right now. They're a little bit slower. I guess they didn't respect. Not I'm trying to say they didn't respect, but I feel there's a lot of times this season that the bottom end teams, the teams that look down upon, are actually very good at spoiling people's days.
I think Trifecta and Splyce are kind of right there, evened up. But what it comes down to is that Cyno has just been so much more of a playmaker than Mask. This is a jungler-driven season. I'm going to say it ad nauseum. And Cyno is making the moves. And it's not even the fact, it might come down to pick, but Cyno has just been more impactful. Every time he makes a play, you see the result.
He had issues last season, I felt, Cyno, and some at the start of this where he was being a setup artist for his team and not being able to be the aggressive style that he has made a name for himself on. Obviously, you've got to be able to transition into different roles, but like you said, in a jungle meta, I want to see my assassin going ham.
It's also why I love this composition. Everybody can provide a little bit of something.
Zap going to come around the corner, Divios wait for the blink, finds it onto two.
Double.
Hits Metyankey, beats force from Zapman there. Cyno picks up NeiruMah while this was going on. The dragon wasn't even able to be unleashed. Scary D with a wall wasn't the greatest in the world. Actually zoned a couple of them away from getting in this fight or even the chase potential. And with one quick kill and a tier 2 tower, Splyce come away and look to siege once more.
Scary D here on the Ymir. He seems to be the lone impact from Trifecta. I mean, there he zones for the entire team. It's Scary D's squad right now, and that's so funny to say. This kid has come so far from last year. His problem was consistency. He had a fantastic performance once at Super Regionals. Did it a little bit once in a while here during the regular season, but you can never rely on Scary D to be the guy. These days, this is the namesake player of Trifecta, and Mask and Zapman are on this team.
Yeah, at the moment, it's 11,000 gold now for Splyce in the lead. 10,000 experience too. Game's not dead yet, and that's what Trifecta will be really looking for here, is defend these Phoenixes and wait for the late game just a little bit longer. They need a little bit more time. Get Zap a couple more items online. And obviously the crit damage too. Got to be careful of Divios though.
Oh, Divios going to slow down
he
his
knows the beams out
here.
there.
The boar is good, but Divios just going to be stunned for a moment. Cyno on the run.
He gets it.
Grabs the sash.
And now is the ring toss available. Not just yet off the mark. Snipes from Cyclone just out of range, but still Zap's going to run. He needs some peel, and NeiruMah on the dwarf won't have enough to stop those two.
Hot nonsense. I don't think Cyno needed to burn the ultimate there, but certainly looked cool doing it. 7, 1, and 3. Oh, man. Cyno on fire.
How do you feel about NeiruMah?
NeiruMah, I think NeiruMah...
As a whole, and this isn't Metyankey, just NeiruMah in general.
NeiruMah in general is an overvalued selection.
Me and you agree on something. That's good.
She brings... And keep in mind, she's very strong.
Well, hold that a second. Just see if we can turn this around. Maybe he'll just call our bluff here as he takes on TheBest. Big, interesting trade. No relics available for TheBest and still beats up for Metyankey. But with a 2-level lead and about an item and a half ahead, that's what happens.
Soul Reaver. That's what happened right there. He just hit him with the Soul Reaver.
I thought you said Soul River. I was like, oh, I know that song. It's an old one.
It is an old one. It's a good one, too.
It is, too. But yeah, I mean,
just like TheBest.
NeiruMah for me, like you were saying, a little bit overrated. I think her time to shine is in the later stages of the game as Mask gets juggled. Does manage to get away from Aror, though, in time. Zapman comes in, has to decline the option too. Fire Giant available any moment again for Splyce.
NeiruMah brings a ton. She brings relatively safe clear when you realize that the fog can combine with your shinging metal to go ahead and actually do the business. She gives you global vision with the ultimate. Forget about the damage. Don't forget about the damage. It's a huge deal, especially combined with items like Soul Gem and Soul Reaver. But I think what happened was that she was just so well positioned with itemization time that she looked really hot. And she does a lot when it comes to damage. But I think what we're seeing across the way from Splyce is they have a lead here because of the control that they've brought. Divios, Cyno, and Best, and Aror, all are heavy control characters. CycloneSpin has little to none, but that's fine because 4 of his teammates are utilitarian.
I'll agree with that. I think Metyankey, well, not Metyankey, NeiruMah in general, like, safe is the opportune word, and then ramps into a lot of damage late. And it's a ramp. It's not like an initial immediate damage burst like you'll see from a Kraken or a Raw Snipe. It's like progressive as the game goes on.
Really what she does well is fight in the jungle. Those small corridors make it tough to deal with those minions. Divios just TP'd over here to the right-hand side, though, Hinduman. Splyce, I think, are ready for their Phoenix push.
They really are. Just keep an eye on who's going to be the one to engage. Only one blink available, which will be on Divios. Lawbringer 2, unless Cyno can find a sash. And that's where you see Trifecta hanging behind their Phoenix. Mask in the mid lane, looking to rotate when required. But look how quick that Phoenix is going down. CycloneSpin is not being contested on that whatsoever. As his front line pushed in, they take a Phoenix for free.
And here's the fight after the fact. Stunned and done.
God.
The best toasts up, Mask. And NeiruMah stuck in the middle here. Aror stunned forever. But now Scary D gonna take some punishment for it. And Divios, we haven't seen you in a while, joins the party. The best with the double kill.
He just brought another target into the fray to be beaten up too. Force him back to base. One Phoenix down. Into the mid lane they go. Have to backdoor this one. No minions. But only 3 members left alive for Trifecta. Only beads available for Metyankey too. He's playing far back. Trifecta surrender their middle Phoenix. I don't think Splyce are going to stop there. They're going straight to the left-hand side.
Splyce has done a great job of just playing their game. A lot of times we see teams focus on invades and trying to shut the other players out. Splyce just noticed what their strategy was, let Cyno just gank, and won this game almost the old-fashioned way. They didn't really think about what their opposition was doing. They just thought about what they were doing, and they said, Cyno, gank people. We'll find the team fights off of the kills. We'll get the objectives, and here we are, 14-3.
Listen, and look where all the kills are for Splyce. All on Cyno and TheBest. The 2 characters, the 2 positions, I should say, in Smite right now that are the backbone, the linchpin of these teams. Obviously, though, the solo laner, the Guardian, doing a lot of work to support that and make that a thing.
Love the itemization choice, the early Masamune from Cyno, and combined with the early Stone of Binding coming out from Aror that we mentioned earlier. This was to sort of denote that early game, what happens with Cynosure on the Naja is when you ult and you come down, you're just sort of duck food. Somebody's just sitting there at the bottom waiting to eat you. Well, Auror's going to amplify the damage after the fact because he's going to crowd control the player at the bottom. Sure. And Cyno's going to make sure that if players do surround him, he's got the extra protections from the Masamune. Really intelligent early game itemization from Splyce that, again, all these little things lead them to the point that they're in right now.
And that's Stone of Binding. I mean, it's been around for a while. It's just gone untouched in the Pro League level.
It's a very specific item, Graham. I don't want to see it in everybody's build all the time. This is the type of build and strategy
Ganesha,
overall that I want to see.
Okay, I can understand that. Well, with all 3 Phoenixes down, there's only 5 people on a Titan left to kill, realistically. NeiruMah going to ult very early on in this engagement to try and shut something down, but it didn't even tickle.
Cynosure takes one to the skies. TheBest candles things on the ground. Scary D goes down. NeiruMah goes down. TheBest is the best. And CycloneSpin going to wrap him up as well. Zapman takes a plunge.
And with that, Splyce will take game 1 in under 27 minutes. Nice and easy for Splyce there. A lot of that came from Cyno in the jungle pressuring, and then TheBest had freedom to do what he wanted.
Cyno and TheBest, yes, they did the hard carrying when you look at the kill column, but this was by no means just the carries doing the work.
Sure.
Support stepped up. A lot of what we saw out of the ultimates from the Naja were coming down right into the Aurora business. And talking about that Stone of Binding again, I don't want to see it in everybody's build. And even if you're playing Ganesha, it's not about the picks. It's about the overall strategy. This is an aggressive item, not a defensive item. So buying it early could put you in a bad position. But Splyce knew exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to get going early and often. They wanted Cyno to gank every single time that ultimate was up. Stone of Binding confirmed that those ganks would be successful, and that's what led them into the mid and eventually the late game win.
Great play from Splyce. Game 1 in the bag. Who do you guys think deserves MVP for that one? You were mentioning it was a team effort overall with how that was played out. Aror made an impact. Divios with the proxy farming and keeping people busy. Set up the Gold Fury. Zoned away the fire. Plenty of people to call from. It's not up to us. It's up to you guys at home. Let's head over to the desk for Game 1 breakdown.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Tom, as well. Finch and Aggro here after they were able to get that very first game taken care of. And they asked who was the MVP. I mean, for me, I think they could have been either one of them, but I think Cyno in particular looked great.
Yeah, they all looked really good, and that was what's really impressive about this roster is that they basically won in the mid and the solo side very easily. It felt like Cyclone didn't even need to make an impact in that game with how well Cyno played and with how well the Best played.
They both played really well. I agree with you 100%. And Best was like that damage that they needed towards like that mid to late game for him. But I mean, it felt like Cyno was the one that was setting everything up for him that whole game. But you're right. It was a total team effort. I mean, how comfortable did Divios look on that tier?
Incredible. And he's done it all the time. You know, it's been all split long that he's looked this good on the tier. But Cyno is kind of the one on the Naja that it used to, you know, when he first came into the league, he used to be the Naja and the Circuit. And that was kind of it for a little bit for Cyno, it felt like. But it's one of those situations where teams forget about how good you are on a certain pick. You know, I'm waiting for Cherio to bring back the Naja and show everyone how it's done on that character. Cyno as well kind of has the same idea there where he could just have these blow-up performances. Best taking the Agni away from Metyankey, utilizing that lack of pressure that Trifecta had in mid and allowing Best to rotate around and be the initiator and be able to follow up a little bit more quickly than Metyankey. That's exactly why I like that Agni pick so early on, and where the new wall was on the left hand, you know, on the mid, just not nowhere to be found. Yeah,
he looked excellent all game long. But for me, the whole squad was just on picks that they were comfortable with. It was really the big story. I mean, Cyno was on the Naja, like you said. Divios is on the tier. Aror on Agni. The Best is on, or rather, the Best on Agni. They just were on gods that you know they can play at such a high level. And Cyno, I mean, you can see his stats right here. He ended up looking so strong for him.
Man, 7-1 and 6, and it was just such a big part of so many of these engagements. I mean, the one he gets Nemesis ulted by the blue buff, and then he just immediately Nem ults Mask in response, or you know, Naja ults Mask in response. That's an initiation by Trifecta that then Splyce is able to turn around and put it into their favor. Cyno played so well.
And they were punishing early on, in particular NeiruMah too. I mean, he started off, I think it was like 0-2, 0-3, something like that. Not because particularly he'd been playing poorly, but they were able to catch him out there in the mid with the Best and Cyno playing so well together, and a focus in the solo lane as well.
That's just what Splyce does very well, is that the Best and Cyno seem to be working pretty well together. Auror's going to work well with the Best, of course, and with Divios. They've been playing together for so long. And when Divios is able to make the plays, I mean, where he zones away everyone from the Fire Giant and then is able to escape.
That was like, what, 17 minutes when they got that Fire Giant?
Insane.
What?
That's exactly how Splyce draws it up, right?
Yeah.
You can just win between great performances from guys like Best, Cyno, or Divios at any given moment.
Well, we'll see.